session on Seesaw is hopefully to get us thinking about using this tool for next year, whether we're face-to-face or remote. And we see this as a tool that's a platform similar to Classroom, but for K through 2. So we have two folks joining us today, Carrie Volke, who is a Seesaw ambassador and has used Seesaw for several years in her second grade classroom at Westminster Elementary. And Christy DeSalle, the art teacher from Briggs, who has also used Seesaw for many years as a portfolio tool in her art classroom. So Eric, will you switch to the second slide for me? So here's the plan for today. Carrie is going to give an overview of Seesaw, and then she is going to do a live demo from her Seesaw class from this past year. She's going to show you how to find and push out an activity to students, and then I'll switch and show you what that looks like from the student view to actually complete the activity, hand it in. And then Carrie will go back to the teacher view and show you how you would find and give feedback on a student assignment. And then she has lots of activities to share with you, ways you could use Seesaw in your classroom. And Christy is going to talk more specifically about how she used it for portfolios. And then we'll end up talking with some of the new features because of remote learning. Seesaw has been adding lots of new features. And we'll talk about how using Seesaw face-to-face is different from using Seesaw for remote learning. And then obviously we'll answer any questions you have. So that's a lot to go over today. We have a lot of slides in the slide deck that we actually won't use, but they're there for future reference. And with that, I will hand it off to Carrie.
Okay, thanks. Next slide, Eric, please. Okay, so we're going to start by watching a very quick video that's actually from Seesaw. It gives you a really good, just quick overview to understand what the platform actually does and what it's used for. Or not. Oh.
I love when that light bulb, that aha moment happens. When they've been working really hard and all of a sudden that light bulb goes off and they just, that click of, oh, I get it now.
I'm looking for new ways to engage my students every single day. Seesaw, hands down, is the best thing that has ever happened to any of my third grade classrooms, whether it's math, writing, social studies, in art class, in music class. It works for everything. There's so many different ways that a student can create.
They can take pictures, they can do drawing, they can record, and then have to go a step further and explain their thinking in a way that really cements the learning. Seesaw helps me because it gives me that immediate feedback of how the kids are doing. It helps me find those misconceptions in their lesson and then the following day to reteach those concepts that were missed.
The Seesaw Activity Library is a go-to almost every single day. I love that I can get so many different ideas for activities that I could use right there in one spot. Students love Seesaw. They get very proud of their portfolio and they like to share it with other people.
I saw that. I was at work at a meeting and my little notification popped up.
I use the Seesaw Family app both at home and at work. It really helps me give an insight of what Ava is doing, not only in class, but also the way that she's thinking and her process. And I think that's priceless. I love how Seesaw really allows me to get to know my students on a deeper level. They don't always want to stand up or raise their hand to talk in class, but I feel like Seesaw really allows them to open up and shine.
Thanks. Perfect. So it's a really...
You just muted yourself, Carrie.
Again? Oh my God. Sorry, thanks. So I started using this because we didn't have Google Classroom in the lower grades and I wanted a platform where I could really see what kids could do. And I think the best way to kind of describe it, as Tiffany uses this term a lot, is to unbox their thinking, to really let them show what they know in their best learning way and in their modality. So I have student portfolios. I use it a lot for formative insights, little quick snippets that tell me a lot about what a kid can or can't do, and I can really alter my teaching and plan. And then I am one of the people that uses it in the district for parent communication. So I have a lot of parents that really appreciate, they're really with everything that's going on in the classroom, and they feel really connected to know what their child is actually doing in the classroom and how they're doing. Next. It unlocks a lot of creative thinking for students in any subject. I use the Seesaw library a lot to just get ideas. There's a lot of tools that let kids choose what they want to do and how they want to show it, which is what makes it a little more powerful. Instead of me just sending them a ton of activities, they can really choose if they want to take a video, if they want to take pictures to show what they know, if they want to take a picture of their work that they're really proud of and showcase it to me. So it's been very helpful. Next. And then there's thousands of engaging activities, and I'll show you when we do the live demo how I go into the Seesaw library to pick stuff. It's unbelievable what's already been created, and most of everything is from educators just like us. It's like a free teacher pay teacher through Seesaw, but it's also interactive. So there's stuff for every type of subject area. You can even bring it down by grade level also. You can even type in just phonic work, or even like Wilson reading program. There's people that post Wilson stuff in here, or Orton Gillingham. There's lots of great stuff for even specialty teachers. Next. And then students really get to use these tools to demonstrate and capture what they're doing and how they're doing it. Whether it's right or wrong, it's a really good snapshot of what we need to know about them. And then I get so much valuable insight, and I can shift my teaching. This is the first year that I've used it full with all parent communication, and I had no parents question any grades, anything I did this year, because they were so in the loop of what their child could or couldn't do, and were really apt to offer help with anything that they saw come through on their child's portfolio. And parents love, it's almost like a watered down Facebook. They can choose their notifications. So parents will leave feedback, they'll heart and leave constructive criticism, like, I loved your reading voice, keep up the great work. It's invaluable. Next. So this is to listen to a student. This is actual 2 pictures from my 2nd grade class this year. So I also worked on gathering math data this year to showcase the use of Seesaw with special ed students, and how a lot of kids know a lot more than we think they do. And if we give them a different outlet to show what they know, how does that empower them? And kids really surprise me in a great way. So the first clip we're gonna just listen to is a 2nd grader actually talking out loud. I use that tool a lot. I don't do tons of huge creative things that are big. I really love to hear little things that I get to listen to their thinking process. So you'll see that the highlighted, this little child had a hard time remembering to always start in the ones column. So she, before you saw this video, actually went in and used the highlighter tool and highlighted all the ones columns so she would remember where to start. And then we'll just listen to her solve the problems.
Nine take away 1 equals 8. 8 take away 4 equals 4. 1 take away 1 equals 0. 1 take away 7 equals 1 is 0. 9 take away 4 is 0. Wait. No. 9 take away 4 is 5.
So that's something I do a lot in my classroom. It's really helpful to just hear how kids work through. So I could quickly see that she understands the process, she's self-correcting, but she also doesn't have automatic math facts. So it's stuff like that that give really quick insight. And then just another quick picture I put on that slide was an activity that we did when we wanted kids to practice money is they would take a handful of coins from my basket. They had to split it. So sometimes they video, sometimes they don't. This child divided it, and then he used the drawing tools to make the circles and add up the money depending on the liked items. So we use that for a lot of hands-on, quick views of who knows what. Next slide. And then this is reading in my classroom. Every week, every child does a read aloud from their reading group book. And I listen to them and I listen to see how their fluency sounds, especially if we've already had the book for a few days. I'm listening to see if they're actually decoding things. And this goes right to their parents after I approve it too. So this is just a quick snippet of a child reading their read aloud book. So I can kind of keep check because she had a hard time with expression and fluency. So those were things she was working on.
Samuel woke up really hungry. He went downstairs and ate a bowl of cereal. Chunk. Then he said, "Mom, may I please have some more?" "Yes," said his mom. "You are a growing boy and you need to eat." So Samuel's mom gave him another bowl of cereal, two milkshakes, and a stack of pancakes. Samuel ate it really fast. Chunka, 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 chomp.
So that's just a quick snippet. I don't make them read the whole book unless it's a really short book, but I'm looking for certain things that I've asked them to work on throughout the week, and it keeps their parents in the loop on how they're sounding. And I always have them take a picture of the front of the book so I know what level it is and I know what book they're reading at. And then on the side, it's just a quick picture. It was a little hard to put something in. My kids actually did an activity like this year with actually Tiffany came in and helped. But just to give you a snippet of, you can actually put real pictures if you zoom in. That's actually my boys, and they took pictures of toys and things around our house to put in the thing category. You can also use emojis, but my second grade class went around with Tiffany in groups this year around the building and took pictures of person, place, animal, and thing. Well, just thing, person, place, and thing, because they were having such a hard time differentiating between the types of nouns. But they were so engaged, and they bothered pretty much everybody in school and had a great time and just kind of bombarded into classrooms. But they all got it after that because they had a hands-on experience where they really owned the skill. Next. So you hear students reflect. There's great things where we do vocabulary, especially at ELA, like phonics centers, super kids centers in our classroom. I use it a lot for science and problem solving. They'll do a lot of STEM videos where they will video their first version and then their remake version so they can show the growth and how they've changed their designs. And it lets them plan their next steps and they'll review it too. And it works on every device, but there is a new version coming up that's going to actually upgrade to run even smoother on all of these devices. It comes out this month in June. So we're going to go inside a Seesaw classroom right now. And
so Eric, you're going to stop sharing if you could, and Carrie's going to take over presenting her screen.
yes.
And she's going to give us a live demo of a Seesaw class.
Yep. So let me just click over. Sorry. Thanks, guys. It's a little slow. hopefully working. Okay, can you guys see pocket charts?
Yep, we got it.
Perfect. Sorry. So we're going to go in. I actually have a few classes. So this is just my classroom from this year because I also make a separate class for conferences that isn't connected to parents. So they have a different slideshow to present to them when they come in for conferences twice a year. So I'm going to go to the plus add sign, and I am going to assign an activity. So this will bring me to the activity library. So I have my own library because I have activities I use all the time, but you can go to the community part right up here. And then you can check off what grade level if you'd like. There's all different grades, and then you can click other and you can bring up specialties to like art and different subjects. And I'm gonna click in the search and I'm gonna put in nouns, verbs, and adjectives. You can find anything you like. I'm going to, here's an activity I hearted. If you can see the little pink heart, you can like items that you want to save that pop up more often. And I chose this one to show you because it has a video with it. So there's a lot of great activities on Seesaw that actually have a video to link to it to remind your children of the skill you've already taught them, and then an activity to follow up so that you don't have to guide them through everything, because these activities are for things you've already taught and you're trying to see if it's actually taken on for them. So I'm going to assign this, and I can choose to do, my class, all of my students from this class, but I'm going to edit students because I don't actually want to send this to every child at home right now. And I'm just going to just send it to Tiffany so you can see. Because I don't want parents to think I'm sending them more work today. Thanks for being patient. Okay. So let's see if it works. So it just reminds me on how to send it to parents because there's extra things that are popping up right now because of home learning. And I can just go back to class. And then Tiffany, do you want to take that over and see how it comes through?
Yes, so I am going to now share my screen and I'm going to show you what it looks like from the student perspective. So I'm going to go up to my address bar and I'm going to type app.seesaw.me essentially. So there's a web version of Seesaw and an app that you can install on mobile devices. And obviously, if you're on a mobile device, you would just tap to open up the app on the device. I'm a student. You do not have to have Google accounts to sign in. You can sign in by scanning a QR code, which is really nice for the young students. They can just hold up the QR code in front of the camera. I'm going to use a text code because the QR code can take a minute sometimes. So this is a code that my teacher, Mrs. Volke, gave me. Oh, I have a typo, so it reminds me ZL, I think. Make sure QTLV.
Maybe get rid of the spaces too.
Oh, let's try it. I tried it just earlier and I was able to get in. Of course, it never works in the demo. Nope. All right, I'm gonna start all the way over.
The code's also
Oh,
expired.
it's V. I did a Z, I think, instead of the V. There we go. So this is what it looks like from the student perspective. So I'm in what's called my journal, which is Seesaw speak for portfolio or classroom, really even. So here's the most recent activity that my teacher, Mrs. Volke, sent to me. So I click on the green Add a Response button, and there's my activity to do. Now, if I needed to see the instructions again, it gives me that option. So I could go watch the video again if I needed to for a review. You're not going to hear the audio on this because I'm not casting, but it's, you can see it's just a quick reminder of what's the difference between nouns, verbs, adjectives. And so it gives me a little hint. So you can have verbal directions, you can have video directions, you can have audio directions. One of the great things about Seesaw is, again, the multiple modalities. And I'm going to scooch this out of the way. So you can see now I'm just doing a sorting activity. And once I'm all done, once I've got all of my words sorted correctly, I won't sort them all because you don't want to keep watching me. The trick to turning in Seesaw is the green check mark. And you have to emphasize with students that you have to do the green check mark, not once, sometimes, but twice. And they'll see this blue bar. So I teach the students to look for the blue bar. That means that it's sent to the teacher. And I'm going to stop sharing now and turn it back over to Carrie, and she's going to show you what it looks like from the teacher perspective once a student has turned something in.
Okay. So let me just grab and share with you. Oops. Sorry. It's just loading. Sorry, it's a little slow. And I always leave teacher approval on for every activity, and Seesaw would tell you to do the same. And there's a lot of reasons for that because kids can do inappropriate things. Oh, let me just reload it because it didn't come through yet, Tiff. Here we go. So you'll notice in the top corner, I have a little red #1 under my name, and that's letting me know that I have a response, and it says it right at the top too. You have one waiting for teacher approval. So I review it. If usually I have a lot if we just did a whole class activity or centers. So I'll usually have a bunch. You have the option to look at all and approve all at once. Unless something is terribly inappropriate, I approve it, even if a child did it incorrectly, because that also keeps the parents in the know of what they are not able to do. And that has actually been a godsend this year because I had more parents. I'm going to stop sharing. So that's it. It will go back to Tiffany and it will just join her journal, and that's it. And then it will also, once I approve it, it goes out to parents if they opted to have communication and notifications. So, but I had more parents become more involved because I was sending things this year that showcase what their child was struggling with. I would get messages in the middle of the night if we did a coin activity and a kid wrote, like 29 cents for like 12 quarters. And I would just get a fun little message that said, well, I guess we'll be working on quarters this week. Thanks for the update. And I actually had a lot more parental involvement because they didn't feel like it was a scorecard gotcha. It was like, okay, that's a snippet. And it wasn't just me saying it, it was live demo from their children. And they were really in tune with actually connecting. And I had a much more collaborative experience this year with this is my first year using the parent part, and letting them really be connected. And then you can also use it almost like Remind, so you can send out messages to parents. They can get text messages. They can do all of that. But I'll let Tiffany, were you going to take that.
So I think we're going to jump forward in the
Okay.
slide deck to slide number 21. So there are some extra slides that we're passing over that will give you tips and hints on how to get students signed in particular. But we're going to jump to 21 and just share some other classroom ideas. So activities, ways to use Seesaw in the classroom.
Okay. Do you want me to present that, or are you going to present it on your screen?
Which would you prefer?
If you want to present, that would be great.
Okay.
And I'll just keep talking.
Yep. Sounds good.
You guys are so quiet.
Yeah, let's stop for a sec. Are there any questions about the demo you just saw?
And feel free, if you go and play with it later or during the summer and you have more questions, you can definitely reach out.
I have a question.
Play.
I have a question. I guess I could put it in the chat.
No, go ahead.
I noticed, well, for instance, in kindergarten, we're using Padlets, and it's worked out really great for us, and we love using those. However, we also recognize that there really is no way for us to know who's doing the work. And I was thinking of that, for example, with the sorting activity. There's no way to know what level of assistance there may or may not have been on activities. So I understand if you're listening to a child reading orally, that sort of thing. But, you know, it is always open to, you know, how much support maybe are they receiving at home, which can also be a learning, you know, a lot of learning that takes place in that as well, but just an observation.
Yeah, I mean, you can present it in a lot of different ways. And I think if you do a really good job of presenting in the classroom, your expectations on how to use the program, it carries over at home. And then you can also ask kids I mean, you have to look at it in two different ways, and we'll get it when we go further into the slide deck of how home learning with this as a platform and at school. And there are definitely different uses. But, you know, I think if I was using this for home learning, I would be having children do more video of feedback. Like kids would then have to read out loud those words to me by themselves to see if they got that skill. So you can always add in another extension that gives them that independent piece to see what their level is. Because if they can't decode the words, then I don't know how they sorted the words. You know, so you have to kind of think a little outside the box, I think, when you put the
I fully understand that. I'm just thinking it's just always an observation, because, you know, we've run into that in kindergarten. It's just as they have support maybe with how spelling words, etc.
Yeah, but I use this a lot for quick snippets of a lot of different things where kids are taking pictures of what they do or videos of what they do. It's wicked easy, Natalie, to create student accounts. Good question. You literally can even take an Excel and throw it into. Good questions. Okay.
All right. Ready for classroom ideas?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to share your screen? Perfect. Thank you. So the biggest thing about Seesaw is the tools that it offers. Is it allows you to use these different tools, and they're really powerful because it's not a lot of pen and paper. It's really letting kids show what they know in their best modality, because we know so many kids learn in so many different ways. So you can start really simple, just take a day or two and just capture learning. Parents love to see what's going on in the classroom too. So I have kids that will capture like one of their favorite journal entries, because they're not always bringing it home, but they want their parents to see their great work. So they'll snap that, send it in, and then I get to look at it when report cards come up to see what they actually did themselves independently. Move on. Sorry. Thank you, Nav. Thanks, Tiff. And then there's great things for documenting and letting them talk through stuff. We did this in our classroom this year, very similar to the math picture on the bottom. I had kids, we gave them numbers to try to create. They had to make it with tens and ones rods, and then they had to make the expanded form on a whiteboard with it, but they had to talk us through it. And they actually had to say, all right, so here's my 3 tens, here's my 4 ones, that makes 34. That's also 30 plus 4 equals 34. And it was very simple to see the kids that couldn't do it. But it was also no big deal, because they were like, all right, well, I'll just edit, I'll make a new number. And you could go live. And a lot of the special ed teachers that were in my classroom this year would actually help facilitate a lot of this. And it was just live scaffolding right in the classroom. Yeah, and this is the fun part. The use of manipulatives and actually then using some of the drawing tools. So they use drawing tools, they wrote fractions. You can demonstrate a math concept. I have kids, I know in other grade levels that will actually video what they do when they take apart something or to make holes of something, or science projects is really fun. You can draw right on real photos. I have kids take a picture of their listening center book for the week, and they just pick one page and then they have to highlight 3 nouns and 3 verbs in 2 different colors. And that's how I know if they're able to find like the nouns and the verbs. And it's a different way I use those tools. And then science experiments. So we did like habitats in 2nd grade. We do these great model magic demonstrations. And so the kids will take pictures of their development of their cool habitats, and then they'll make a little slide with it to show to their parents of how they started with just some clay and how it moved on. And the next slide. All right, and then does this have to be cast, Tiffany? Sorry.
I don't think this one's a video. I think it's just, oh yeah, we won't do the link. I think we'll just explain maybe.
Yep, so for a lot of kids in the lower grades, they'll actually try to read their journal because sometimes you're not always sure what they wrote. And it's a really powerful tool because they're really proud of it. And it keeps everybody in the loop because if you can't read it, or if they're really misinterpreting certain letters for certain sounds, it's a really quick snippet and you can tell really quickly. But they love to tell stories. And then it enables those kids that are really having a hard time writing to still get their stories out and not be dismayed about not being able to be writers, and it doesn't suffocate them and feeling like they can't actually write. I had a lot of kids that did a lot of different audio stuff this year that were a part of my special ed population, and they actually turned into writers because they didn't need it anymore because it wasn't so torturous for them, because it gave them a little platform to kind of bridge that gap for them.
Carrie, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How do you manage the kids recording? Because it's something that I've wanted to do with my portfolios, but I don't know how to manage it in terms of time and like sound, background.
So I train them, yep, and then I use the hallway. So it's not something I start the year with. It starts, I was fortunate that Tiffany came in and did some lessons with us too at the beginning of the 2nd grade. I think when it starts taking off between the grade levels, it will get easier and easier. I know Natalie said she wanted to train my kids. It was actually surprisingly short. I would say in a matter of a month, if you take the time to do it right, they were really good with the tools. But I would have it during center time, Christy, so that I was more available, if that makes sense, so that I could finish with a reading group, and then my certain kids would go out into the hallway and they had special spots they knew where they could go. It was just more of a management thing. But in the hallway, there's less traffic and sound. And the other thing I put in for a grant, but obviously everything's a little defunct right now, is we did get to borrow a few to try the special headphones that have the microphone, like the Britney Spears ones that come around. And those were like a game changer. So that would be something that I would love to try and see for a grant next year if I could get like 6. You know what I mean? That would be amazing to say, all right, go ahead and go read your story, record it, because it cut back on that sound back substantially. I'm sorry, I didn't see your, I know something popped up, Tiffany, from Natalie.
Oh, sorry. Since I'm presenting, I can't see the chat window anymore.
I know, I'm just pausing.
Oh, that's okay. I'll just say it.
Yeah.
So obviously this is putting together like an e-portfolio for the kids. How can that be exported? How can that e-portfolio be exported? Because I would love to see it from having kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, and then having that exported into their 3rd grade Google Drive. So it's something that is a portfolio that can withstand the whole K through 12. That's what I'm wondering.
So I know when you have schools, Seesaw for schools, everything transfers from year to year for the grades you buy it for, if that makes sense. And then, like, I thank God I didn't archive my class because of this presentation. I almost archived it last week. All parents are going to get a notification to download a zip drive, if that makes sense, of all the work their child did this year, and it includes everything. So I haven't actually put a whole thing, but I've put parts of their portfolios into my Google Drive for presentations. So I haven't actually done it, but I'm pretty sure it's possible, but I can definitely get back to you on that one.
Natalie,
Yeah,
I can have my kids K. I've done it K through 5. So I have all of the kindergartners in one big class so that when they move to first grade, I just change the name of the class to first grade, which of course a classroom teacher can't do, but a specialist can.
Yeah.
Because you have all the same kids every year. And so at least K1 and 2, those you'll see when I share my portfolios, you can see that growth, K1 and 2, because that's what we're going to have it for.
Okay.
Carrie, are you ready for the next slide?
Yeah, ready. Sorry. Thank you. Good question, Natalie. And then this is reading fluency, which is just kind of like what I talked about before, but you can also have them do comprehension checks. So if I'm working on them going back and proving that point, they can take a picture of where in the book that answers and, you know, supports that detail. And then like she put a little opinion, I think she's going to be friends with her later. And this is the page that proves that point. So it's just a lot of, instead of doing everything paper and pencil, it's kind of using the materials in the classroom to empower them. Because there's a lot of kids that can inference, but they can't do it when you give them a pencil to inference. So it kind of gives them a different way to showcase that they actually do have that skill. Oh, and then labels. This is a really fun tool we did. You can make text box, you can label, and just like you saw Tiffany when she was a student, those were already boxes made, and she moved them into the right categories. But kids can take a picture and label on top of everything. So my kids for geometry, they got to make these really cool snowflakes with all the geometric shapes, but then they had to label some of the shapes so that I knew actually if they knew the name of those shapes because we were finishing up that unit. But they can, I use it a lot for science and STEM stuff. So if they had to prove that they put something together and how that worked, they'll label different parts, or if they label in inches for math or something like that. But it's a really simple tool, but I have the kids use it for so much in a simple way to show me things. And they also use the drawing tool. You can see where they drew in the arrow to show that that was where the force was going to be. Sorry, thanks, Tiff.
Okay, that was awesome, Carrie. Thanks for those ideas. Are there any questions on classroom ideas before we turn it over to Christy to talk about portfolios?
Eric, you need to show the next slide for me, or whoever is doing it. Tiffany?
Do you want me to present? You don't have any videos though, right? You just want me to present? I can present.
I mean, I can pull it up on my screen if you want.
No, I got it.
Okay. So this is my share station in my classroom. I keep portfolios, like I said, for the kids. I've been doing it K through 5. I think I've been doing it for 3 or 4 years. And this is how I have it set up in my classroom. I have 2 iPads. I'd like to have more, but I have them on a cart. When the kids complete their artwork, they go over there, and you might be able to see in the middle of the photograph, you can see the QR code just kind of hanging up there. So for each grade level, there's a different QR code. The kids grab it, they scan the QR code for their grade level, and it brings them into the portfolio for their grade level. And then the image in the middle are the instructions on how to do it. I have poster tack on those little things behind the iPads, and the kids put their artwork up there. They take their picture, they post it to their portfolio, and then just like Carrie showed before, I have to go in and I have to approve it. I started doing this just with the artwork, but then I've also this year been doing it with artist statements for kids in grades 3 to 5. So Tiff, I'll show you I'll go to my Seesaw thing now.
All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen so Christy can show you a live demo of her Seesaw class. So just give us a second to switch.
There we go. This is the first time I've ever done this, so give me a second.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
All right. Share. I'm trying to click on share, Tiff. It's not letting
So
me.
it gives you a little preview of the screen. You have to click on that before the share button will light up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, can you see my screen?
We can. Kindergarten art. Looks awesome.
All right, so that when Carrie was playing around, I went in there. So this is going to bring you to my teacher page for kindergarten, if I can get back there. Hold on. Here we go. All right, so this is what it looks like for me. I have all of my students in one class for each grade level. And this is one particular student. This is kindergarten, so it's just what he did this year. And I chose this student because his mother was someone who was very interactive. You can see that right here that she has seen the artwork, but then she liked this one. This is something I shared out to the entire class. It was when we did color mixing. I also take some pictures of the kids working so that the parents can see that. And then she comments here. So super cool snowflake. She asked about what it was, hot cocoa or a hungry monster. Love seeing his work. I get a lot of really positive comments from parents. So that's a kindergartner. And then I'm going to go to 5th grade. And this will allow you to see the student's work from, I'm going to go all the way to the beginning. So this starts, let's see, I believe when they were in 3rd grade, I started doing this. So you can see all the way back here. When I first started doing it, I had them type in artist statements under comments. But you can see the students' work from 3rd grade, and then it goes all through 4th grade and into 5th grade. And so it's a good way to demonstrate student growth. They do both must-do projects and choice projects in my classroom, and so they're taking pictures of all of that work. You can see in this one, actually, you can see the background that I have posted for them to stick it to. This is another artist statement from 4th grade. This is some group work that they did. So, but what I really enjoy about doing this is that I can go back, like when it's time for grades, and I can look at their work. I don't have to bring home a huge portfolio of artwork for 500 kids. I can just go on here and I can see their work and what they're doing. And then once we get into 5th grade, oh, we don't have one there. They have artist statements that they write and post. So this is an artist statement that she wrote. And Carrie had talked about, you know, having the kids record stuff. I really want to do that. I just, you know, I have 45-minute classes, and so it's trying to figure out exactly when I can do that with the kids. I think that's about it. Does anyone have any questions? Am I done? Did I stop presenting my screen?
You did.
You did? Okay.
You did good. Woohoo! All right. So
Christy,
thank you.
I had a quick
I
question.
love Christy's setup in her classroom. Any questions about her setup or how she uses Seesaw for portfolios?
Tracy, did you have a question?
Yeah, so you have that station always set up so kids can just independently go photograph their work when they're done?
Yes. So in grades 3, 4, and 5, which I know that doesn't really impact this because that's not who we're getting it for, they are very quick to pick up on it. And then I start training them in grade 2. For K and 1, I take the pictures and I post them.
Okay.
So if it's something that the kids are doing in their regular classroom, then I would absolutely start doing it in my art room. But I don't have the time with the kids to be able to train the littles to do it. It's not that I don't think they can do it. It's just that I don't, with my schedule the way it is, I don't have the time for it. So,
Yeah, that's like an easy way for them. If it's just something that's always there and they don't have to move the camera around or anything, they can just put their item and take the picture. It sounds like something we could probably get them used to pretty quickly. I like that.
Absolutely. And so it's the reason I did it is the first year that I started with it, I had them just taking the iPad over to their table to take a picture, and it was bad. So this way I have it set up, and the only issue that I have come across is they move the iPads on me. So they'll like turn them this way or try to make it look better or whatever. But that doesn't happen very often. So
yeah. No, I like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Tracy, we were getting there with first grade at Briggs before the closure. And again, it's another classroom routine that you have to teach and they have to practice. And some of them pick it up quickly, and some of them need a little more scaffolding and reinforcement.
Yeah, no, I love that.
I do think the younger kids can do it independently with enough help.
Yeah.
And if it's something that is happening in the regular ed classroom, then it's easy to carry that over into my classroom, into the specials, and reinforce that learning there.
Mm-hmm.
Could I ask a question that actually like reverses that statement? So is this an expectation throughout the elementary schools, as in all 3 of them? Or is this just something that's like offered as for teachers to possibly do for next year? I question that because, as the technology teacher, I can certainly do the training in advance, especially for the little ones. I just don't know if it's going to be an expectation for teachers to use or something that's an option.
I think this will be the replacement for Padlet moving forward in the next year. We're still working on that as an admin team, what the expectations are for next year. But I think there's a lot of push moving towards Seesaw from Padlet. It seems to have a lot more functionality compared to what it addresses some of the problems we're seeing with Padlet.
Well, and it's easier to track. The issue that I have had with Padlet is that, like, to go and see what kids have done, I'm scrolling, and they have their own space.
And if that's an if that's an expectation for the district, would the students' accounts be created, or would that be for teachers to create them individually? Have we gotten that far?
Natalie, we're looking at getting.
We are looking at purchasing a license for K through 2. I'm trying to scrape together money for that. As far as rostering right now, I haven't even gotten that far in my thought. I'm trying to cap off this year right now.
Gotcha.
But the paid schools version does allow the admin team for rostering to happen administratively bulk for the district.
Nice. And can teachers kind of interconnect into that software too? So you would have kind of like Mystery Science, you would have an administration grouping, and then each class or each teacher So say, for instance, if I have something that's interconnected, cross-curricular, that say Carrie's doing in 2nd grade, I can share student content with her. Carrie, I guess that's a question for you. You got to unmute.
So I know, sorry. You can share activities with me. Like I'll make something and share it with my team, or somebody in my team might find something that's already been created and they'll share it with me. But it depends on how you set up the classes, if that makes sense, Natalie. It's all about what the admin team will decide on how it's set up, because a lot of specialists in the groups I'm in for Seesaw, the specialists have their own classes. Parents will get notifications from both classes, but if you wanted to send me something or you wanted to be interrelated, I'm not sure about, there's a lot of features with the paid version that we haven't all got to experience yet, if that makes sense.
I know with the non-paid, with the free version, like when I started this, I invited Tiffany, because it was when Tiff was still working with us. And so you can invite other teachers. So say the whole enrichment team wanted to do something.
You can't invite that many.
You can't invite that many?
No.
On the free version, it's 2 teachers per class. But again, our hope is to have the paid version, which allows more than you would need or want. But again, Natalie, I don't think we're at that point yet where we're ready to get to that level of detail. So we know that we'll have to figure that out. We're just not there yet.
Okay, thanks. Just let us know when you are.
Will do.
Yes.
All right. So I believe we are on slide 32.
Yeah.
Carrie, I will present for you. Carrie's going to talk briefly about the family connection component, and we'll have to be fast, Carrie, because we're almost out of time.
I'm already a fast talker, so I promise I'll breeze right through this. So this is the first year I actually use Seesaw connected with families. And it, like I've mentioned before while I was presenting, it was amazing. Parents were really in the know, were really connected to their students' learning. And I think that was the biggest thing. It wasn't with, there were so many multiple check-ins because they chose what setting of notifications they can get once a week. They can get whenever anything gets uploaded. They have a lot of power of what they want to see or how they want to get notified. They can get through text, through the app, anything, or all the above, or email. But it's a very powerful component that a lot of people don't really know to utilize yet. And it's really great for especially like classroom teaching or whatever, or specialty teaching, but even special ed. I have teachers that love it that I'm in the group I'm in. If you want to go to the next slide, it's just a quick picture. So they use the family app, and that was one of the things that happened this year is to do the home learning when we had the shutdown is parents were a little confused because the family app is how they actually get the work. And because Seesaw wasn't ready, like most of us, for lots of things, they had students access the family app this year. But next year, I believe this summer, they're switching everything over so students can access the student app at home. And it will be made differently with all the great features still, but so that parents can have that separation instead of sharing their app for e-learning at home. But it's really quick. Everything that you saw on my screen and Tiffany's screen goes right to the parents as is. And you'll notice on that little computer, on the phone, how there's 3 colors. There's blue, orange, and red. That's because that teacher put it into different labels and folders. So you can choose to put work in different groupings. So I even make folders that just say trimester 1 reading or trimester 1 math. And it will just go into those certain sections. We'll go to the next one. And this is just a snapshot of adding families as a teacher. We're not going to get into it because we're not there yet because you haven't had a chance, some of you, to play with the app. But this is probably one of the easiest platforms I have ever used. It is so teacher friendly, parent friendly. It's not foolproof, but like it's pretty close. That it doesn't make that divide for parents that aren't as technologically savvy to say, no, thanks, I don't want to be part of this. It makes it really simple for them to be connected. And you literally just hit that plus sign, add families, and then they get a notification they can add in. For me, just because I can print an invite every year at Parents' Night, I already have their child's invite at their child's desk at Parents Night, so they can log right in and take that QR code with them home. Next slide. And that's it. Just, you can print paper or you can even send an email. And it literally sets it all up for you. And it also even computes into 55 different languages. So if you have any children with other language barriers, it actually will switch to 55 languages. So a lot of districts love this because of the ability for ELL students and different families that have a language barrier. Next. And then this is one thing, if you're interested, over the summer, they do a lot called PD in pajamas. And even if you don't have time to go, if you sign up for the PD, they will email you the recording. So I always tell people, just sign up. It's not going to hurt if you don't show up, but if you signed up and logged in saying you wanted to attend, they'll send you the recording when they've processed it. And it's great to look back. They're really quick little snippets, just enough for you to take. But the best thing is to play around with the tools and become familiar with it, but they'll walk you through any of that also. And the other reason I chose this is because of the safety rating. They have like one of the best lockdown student privacy ratings. And that's of course really important, which is why we have Class Link this year and everything. It meets all of the standards for that. And then there's just different ways you connect. And then you can go down. So this is all depending on what happens with admin and what they're working on. But I know that Eric is working hard, but I didn't want to kind of lead you astray and tell you that all this is free. So I just leveled out, and you can go back and look at this, what the new features are. There's actually going to be even more in August. I go to weekly meetings with Seesaw to see what they're releasing and watch the live demos so that I'll be available to help people walk through this. But for right now, these are the ones that are coming out with a new version in June. So this has been really fun to watch on some of the groups I'm on. They actually make like a slide for every day of the week, and it has all the live links in that day slide for the child, so they don't have to click anywhere else. So you would have Monday, there's lots of Seesaw teachers making like little Bitmoji classrooms. Everything on the board has all the activities they need for their whole Monday, their reading, their math, but everything, nobody has to click anywhere else. Everything's right within that slide. So they have a lot of different stuff they've been working on. So they're actually doing a lot more videos, and then you're able to link into everything now. So you could send out one activity for the week, but it actually has your whole week's worth, if you were e-learning, your whole week's worth of activities for parents and students right linked within. So that will be more things that they'll be doing training on. I know this summer and in the fall, they feel really strongly. They've asked all of us for our recommendations, and they've hired a gazillion new people, and they have just been working nonstop to add all the features we've actually been asking for. So they're taking it really seriously, and they really value teacher input. So it's looking really awesome for all the new features that are coming out. And they said they'll be in August. And I think that's you, Tiffany.
Yeah, so I'll just close out by saying that we see Seesaw being used whether we're face-to-face in a regular real classroom or doing remote learning. And we'll let you know as the admin team makes budgetary decisions especially, but we are hoping to have the Seesaw for Schools paid version, which will let us do a lot of that rostering and other admin stuff more easily. And it will give you some of the, especially the assessment features that are really helpful for teachers. But we will update you as soon as we have more information. So thanks for joining us today. If you have questions, reach out to me, but also to Christy and to Carrie. And just like all the other virtual PDs, this will be recorded and posted to the Teacher Learning from Home page. I'll stay on for a few